If you're not a millennial and you're looking at this generation, there might be one thought that is particularly prevalent in your head. What's with all the communism? And you'd probably be right to ask that. There are an awful lot of unironic communists in this generation, and it might look a little weird from an outside perspective, a little difficult to understand, but I, as a millennial myself, do have a little bit of insight into why my fellow youngsters of this day and age are dusting off the old hammer and sickle, and so I'm going to tell you. Just to make this clear, I'm not a communist. I think communism is a terrible idea, as evidenced by, every single country that's ever tried it. But, I'm not opposed to every single little component that it entails. I just wouldn't take the package deal, even if you paid me money for it. And seeing as this is communism, you probably wouldn't pay me money for it, because it's communism. Communism has had adherents in academia long before the first communist regimes, and now, even long after the fall of the Soviet Union, they're still there. As a matter of fact, I think universities might be the workplace that has the most gainfully employed ardent communists of any workplace at all, really. This is, of course, because things have a way of working in academia like they don't in the real world. And that is completely alright. I mean, after all, we pay these people to think about complex hypotheticals and weird mental constructs, and generally just philosophy stew, and many good things come of them doing what they do. They're just not as often as readily applicable or as obviously applicable as advances in engineering or medical science. But like engineering, occasionally, the academic ideas are tested against the real world, and then they result in gulags. And you would expect these academics to go, well, that didn't work, and then just move on, and some did and do. But unfortunately, the same human nature that turned the Soviet Union into a cesspit of misery is holding these people back from adopting new ideas. They are only human, after all. Is that a dead meme? Am I make some meme necromancy here? Should I have gone with the human beings? This is getting really uncomfortable. When you can construct your own world in your mind, it's easy to rationalize this shit away, right? You can just say, well, communism wasn't done right all the times it didn't work. And if it was done like exactly this way that I have in mind, and just everyone stuck together and helped each other and pulled the same way, then it would work for sure. If only humanity were a little less human, then communism would work. Hence why you have a lot of academics who are communists at universities. But what the fuck does that have to do with millennials? Well, I'll tell you. Most of these millennial communists come from university academia, where communist ideology has been taught for decades. In every generation of students, there were some that fell for it, right? They then became communist academics themselves and passed the torch and made sure that the teachings went on. But despite all the many different packagings that it has tried, communism never really caught on with the general student body. Hey kids, you want to put in an application and then maybe in 10 years come to collect some communism if we don't have a shortage by then? But now we have this sudden explosion of communists all over the West, in all the universities, right? Everybody's buying fucking fur hats and Kalashnikovs, if fur hats are pink hair dye and Kalashnikovs are iPhones. They have stolen the mantle of the actually quite noble idea of social justice and turned it into full-blown fucking Marxism, packaged as, something that is generally considered to be a good thing. And, let's just say something like that does not happen in a vacuum. No, this happened because communism hit fertile soil with the millennial generation, right? The limited life experience that they do have has led them to the conclusion that Marx is their best option to advance into the future. And before you wave your hand dismissively and shake your fist at the stupid fucking snowflakes, let me just remind you that you are the people who raised the stupid fucking snowflakes, and also the people who constructed the world that the stupid fucking snowflakes dislike so much that they would rather change it than have food in their pantry. So, you know. Oftentimes the explanation is that millennials are just spoiled and lazy, and they want the government to give them everything for free, but that's not really the true reason. Imagine, for a moment, being a millennial, right? You weren't born to rich parents because, let's be fucking honest here, few people are, right? You just have a normal, regular, old, middle-class background. You're not super rich, but you also never had to experience hunger. You've spent all your life in a terrible school system that has taught you nothing about anything and was generally just creativity strangling conformity training, right? The mundane behaviors were helicoptered over and then medicated, but really nobody actually cared about you because your parents were much too busy making money so their lives wouldn't be ruined. And now that you're fresh out of high school, you need to make an impossible financial commitment to knowing what you're going to do for the rest of your entire life, which is something you haven't had the time to think about because you were too busy memorizing useless information in high school. Now that you've made this decision based upon your non-existent life experience, welcome to the nightmare that is high school 2.0, or as most people like to call it, college. Because no, university life is not all about frat parties and weed, bro! It's actually a lot of hard work and dedication paired with heartbreak and malnourishment. Because getting a degree, any degree, or at least most of them, has become so much tougher over the past 30 years, right? You have to put in more hours in the day of work, you have to perform to much higher levels, you have to tread lightly with what you say because of, somewhat unrelated reasons, right? The point is, free time is generally not something that students have. It's just not something that happens for them. It doesn't exist. But wait, there's more. If you apply to our college now, you'll also get to work at a shitty job that pays next to nothing, because that's the only way you'll be able to afford top ramen at the end of the month, so you don't fucking starve to death. Your parents can't help you. They need all their dwindling cash to make sure they have enough money for retirement, and also to ensure that the bank doesn't foreclose on their fucking house. You can't be at uni, have a job to pay the bills, and be anything outside that. It just doesn't work. Everything pays less, everything costs more, and everything is more difficult to do. And when you leave college, you are now settled with such a monumental debt that it is so much negative money that you could buy an anti-mansion from it, right? In anti-Beverly Hills. That's how much anti-money that is. And unless you have a really rich daddy or mummy, you're not going to be starting a business. Because when you have incredible amounts of debt, you are not going to gamble on your new startup idea, no matter how fucking brilliant it is. And that angel investor that's going to save you and, increase his wealth a little bit while making you fabulously rich with your hard work is not coming along. Those people do not exist. And before you go, well, you didn't have to buy that college education. You've purchased a product and now you must pay its cost. Try being a millennial and getting a job that is better than Walmart without having gone to university. Try that, and then we'll talk. No, graduates have to become wage slaves because what other options do they have, really? And even that can be incredibly difficult. The days of, hey, I went to college, give me a job, are over. It's gone. It doesn't happen anymore. You can't live like that, right? In addition to your degree, you need years of work experience to get even an entry-level job, right? And you can't get years of experience because you can't get a job, right? And you could, of course, get those years of experience by working for free, which is called an internship. But really, that's only something you should do if you're willing to live on the streets and scour garbage bins for food on your free time. And even if you do get a job against all these odds, well, have fun earning about $10,000 adjusted for inflation less than people did 30 years ago with entry-level jobs. and also have fun owning about half as what baby boomers did in their early 20s. And also, you're in huge fucking debt! Even though you work more hours, there is no job security. You'll never be able to buy a house or retire. That's not an option that's ever going to be on the table for you, right? Because the meager earnings that you do get, you have to spend those on staying alive and paying your debts. There's nothing else. There just isn't anything else you can do with it. Basically, you're looking at a life of modern day slavery, which was sold to you as, well, you have the freedom to do whatever you want, so long as you do one of these few things that you can actually realistically do in the system that we have pushed you into, right? Can you not understand that some millennials would just go, no? This is why millennials are turning to Marx for answers. They have borne the brunt of the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. And yes, many people lost many things, but millennials in general just lost their entire future. That's what they paid for, even though they had nothing to do with creating this crisis. And the next crisis is just around the corner, because governments are bought and paid for by banks. Also, the overpriced education they got is worth nothing. But also, it's not optional. They see that all this great economic growth that's happened over the past few decades, it's all gone to the top 5% of people. The rest of them got scraps, right? The middle class, where their parents come from, the life they'll never have, it's disappearing, and it's not disappearing upward. That's not what's happening. And they also see that none of this is going to change, because the older generations just go, yeah, this is completely okay. I'll be dead soon anyway, so what do I care? I have money. So millennials think to themselves, hey, how about, instead of me being a slave to this system I did not create, I try building this utopia I found in a book. What could possibly go wrong? I don't know. I have never experienced any of it. They don't know about the horrors of communism. They've never had to live under its oppressive thumb. They weren't alive back then. Sure, they learned about the horrors that the right wing committed because Nazis are fairly present in high school education, but day-to-day life in the Soviet Union isn't really a major part of the educational curriculum in the West. And need I remind you that the whole Third Reich happened because of the Great Depression, right? Germany was in shambles following Black Friday and all that accompanied that whole debacle, right? That's how the Nazis could sell the Germans on the Jews being the problem because of all the banker Jews. The Nazi ideology was just in the right place at the right time, much like communism is today with social justice and helping the poor. So really they're a bit like reluctant Trump supporters, right? They thought, well, I could vote for this corporate shit candidate that is literally the worst person to live in this day and age in America, or I could go with the wild card who could either be the best thing ever or the worst thing ever. So why not go out swinging instead of taking it up the arse, right? And also, much like these reluctant Trump supporters, or at least many of them, they have fallen victim to the Ben Franklin effect, where they eventually started thinking that because they decided for this system, it has to be the best, most flawless system ever to exist in all of history, and anything that attacks it is fundamentally evil and the opposite of good. If you don't like the rules, change the game. And if we don't fix the aforementioned problems, because do understand that these are the problems that are making communism happen in the West, well, the same thing that happened with the Nazis might happen again, only with the communists. And please know this, if they win this time, they will win for good. You can no longer go into the woods and build some sort of secret resistance. It doesn't work. They have fucking drones with thermal vision. You can't do it. They will win for good. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you got a little bit of insight into the millennial mindset. I really do, because I need people to understand this. I need people to understand that this isn't just something that came out of nowhere. This is something that came from very real things and very real problems that millennials have, right? You can't tell a millennial, well, I had it worse in my day, because first of all, that's not fucking true. And second of all, the fact that we have iPhones doesn't mean our lives are not shit, because iPhones do not make you happy. Also, I don't even have an iPhone. I'm an Android user, so that's probably why I'll have all the downvotes at the video bottom. That they will be there because of my Android usage. Not for any other reason. Also, there's definitely not going to be a video next week, because I'm going to be working at a major northern German metal festival to sell booze and make some dinero, which is always nice. And also, there's not going to be a video on my audiobooks channel, Who's Betty, next week. I'm really sorry about that, but nobody fucking watches that anyway. Which, you know, I'll link it. Just watch the end card. The thing with the question mark, subscribe to that channel and listen to my stories. I'm really desperate for subs on all channels, really. That is sort of my problem.